The human pursuit of audio perfection is one of the strangest stories ever told. A lot of us believe that the early days of hi-fi actually had it right. They nailed it. All analog playback using technology that's over 60 years old. This absolutely defies every technological advancement humans have ever made. We don't drive 60-year-old cars. We don't use 60-year-old telephones, TVs, and we're not going back to VCRs. So what happened? What happened? If so many people believe that analog is the best way to listen to music, why did we ever leave it? Why did most people go without it in the 90s and 2000s? You can't deny the vinyl resurgence, and now there's another forgotten format that's getting ready to get an audiophile twist, a premium twist, and I'm pretty excited about it. Humans are strange. Music collectors, we are frickin' bonkers. And I love it. For a lot of us, the 60s and 70s were the golden age of music. You had bands like the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, Rolling Stones, putting out timeless music that'll never be outdone. They would go into the studio and record their music to analog tape. And for the music fans that wanted to own this music, we had two choices: vinyl records, reel-to-reel, analog. For a lot of us today, this still sounds like the perfect playback system. But there was one massive flaw, and that's portability. Lugging around even a small collection of vinyl records or reel-to-reels is not optimal, is not even an option. They're heavy, and even worse, they're fragile. A scuff or a scratch, or even a warped record from sitting in your car in the sun is a big issue. Another issue was mobile playback or listening in your car. The 60s and 70s were a revolutionary time for the auto industry as well. Most families prior to the 70s had one car, but that changed. People were driving more, longer distances, and driving alone. And at the time, you were stuck listening to whatever was being broadcast on the radio. And playing a record in your car, even on the smoothest of roads with the best suspension you could get, isn't going to work. And installing a massive 40-pound reel-to-reel deck into your dashboard, that's not an option either. And so begins the trade-offs. I can remember it like it was yesterday. A guy named Billy lived across the street. He was barely out of high school. He had the coolest Scooby-Doo van you've ever seen. One of those vans with the small little teardrop window in the back, floor-to-ceiling shag carpet, and big mag wheels. That van was cool. But it wasn't the van that made him the boss of the block. It was actually his 8-track player and 8-track collection. You always knew Billy was on his way home when you could hear REO Speedwagon or Rod Stewart blaring down the road. Billy's home. He had 2 or 3 leather cases full of 8-track tapes. I even remember him letting me sit in his van, crank whatever I wanted, while he washed the van in his driveway. I was in heaven. The quality of 8-tracks wasn't that great, and then there was a programming issue which forced you to listen through a complete cycle if you wanted to get back to the song you wanted to listen to. But at the time, it was a game changer. You didn't have to worry about scratches, analog tape placed in a decently robust plastic case. You could kind of throw them around a little bit. You didn't have to worry about them scratching. You didn't have to worry about them warping. At the time, if you wanted to listen to your music in your car, that was the best option. And even though cassettes had been out for a while, they really didn't hit mainstream success until the 80s. These cassettes had a lot of improvements over the 8-tracks in that you could fast forward, you could rewind. They were so small you could slip a couple in your back pocket if you wanted to take them with you. And the sound of a brand new cassette is actually really good. But that is one of the problems. People noticed that with the cassettes they were playing a lot, the audio started to degrade. That tape has to travel over that playback head every time you play one. It just degrades over time. Not to mention the thickness of the actual tape was on the thin side. And if your tape got stretched out, all of a sudden the music would make you feel like you're getting ready to pass out.
I like you, but you're crazy.
And if you've never had to re-spool a cassette tape with a pencil, odds are good you didn't grow up in the 80s. It was just part of it. Promised as the perfect format, CDs were almost just that. They were portable, almost indestructible. Unlike everything else prior, the audio didn't degrade after use. And skippable, repeatable tracks meant you never had to listen to a song you didn't like. Perfect, right? But CD playback wasn't perfect either. Some people felt it was a little cold or lifeless, especially in the early days of CD. But the portability and the almost indestructible properties of a CD, to most people, was worth the trade-off. People were unloading their records and cassettes for pennies on the dollar in every garage sale. And then they'd go out and buy their entire collection again on this new perfect format, CDs. And then came the MP3s, maybe the most hated word for music collectors out there, MP3s. It almost makes you cringe just hearing it. MP3s were the ultimate format for portability, and in my opinion, the worst sounding of any format. But when I wrapped my mind around the fact that you could have almost every song in your collection in an MP3 player that fits in your back pocket that's smaller than one 8-track cassette, I was in. Like a lot of you out there, I spent the early days of MP3 ripping every CD I owned and putting it on my iPod. And then in full disclosure, as soon as my roommates and I discovered Napster and got broadband internet, we felt like Matthew Broderick in War Games.
All right, we're in.
We were downloading every song we could get our hands on before Lars Ulrich could pull the plug.
Our team of lawyers and researchers have your names, and we're going to hunt you down like the table scrap pilfering grab asses you are.
Even with the terrible sound, the fact that it was so portable, and because I could take the CDs that I already purchased and essentially just take them with me wherever I went, it was game over for me. I was all in. For years, if I was out of the house, that's all I listened to. And a lot of times when I was in the house and lazy, it's still what I listened to. Sometimes I'm just lazy. And with what MP3s turned into, you'd think the next one would be the final boss. It'd be game over. But because music collectors are not rational, even lossless music streaming isn't going to cut it. We need a struggle. We need a barrier. I think it's possible to the non-music collector, the average person out there, lossless streaming is the last format. It is the end boss. For the price of one CD in the 90s, you can get a subscription service. You have access to almost every single song ever made in high resolution, really good audio. And to a lot of people, better than analog. It's not fragile. It's never going to degrade. You don't even have to take up space on your phone or a hard drive. Pick out the song you want to listen to, hit play. If you don't like it, you never have to hear it again. You don't have to delete it from your device. And I think for most normal people out there, they're going to be just fine with lossless streaming. Game's over, format war's over, streaming won, right? You'd think that'd be it, but it's not. It turns out a lot of us still like physical media. And this isn't just the boomers. Younger kids that didn't grow up in this era also like physical media. It's got to be a human thing, a nostalgia thing, a tangible thing, a physical thing. Because there are so many barriers for physical media. It's expensive. It's not portable. It's fragile. It costs a good amount of money to have a system that will do physical media well. But for us collectors and music diehards, the labels and artists have us buying premium presses, remixes, remasters, color variants, box sets. It goes on. And we buy it up. And now it looks like we might be resurrecting another analog format with a premium twist. And I'm really excited about this one. This might be really good. It was just announced recently that ReVox, one of the biggest names in reel-to-reel and cassettes, are going to be teaming up with the largest tape cassette reproduction facilities in the United States, known as NAC, to produce audiophile cassette tapes. The goal for this project is to get reel-to-reel quality audio onto a traditional cassette tape. And as somebody that's kind of scoffed at the tape cassette resurgence, I didn't think it was coming back. If they can pull this off, if they can get the quality of a reel-to-reel onto a cassette tape, they might have something. I love the sound of reel-to-reel, but they're cumbersome. But anybody that's owned a reel-to-reel knows what it's like to use one. It's not the easiest thing in the world. If they can get close to the sound of a reel-to-reel onto a cassette, there might be something here. If Taylor Swift can sell hundreds of thousands of records to people that don't even own a record player, the music collectors and us will buy these just to complete a collection. The labels will eat this up, and so will we. It doesn't matter if you already have 10 copies of Dark Side of the Moon or Rumors. The completist in us, we're going to have the cassette too. This is going to be really interesting to watch unfold. Maybe at some of the trade shows next year, we'll get to hear some of these new cassettes. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If these cassettes sound really good, are you going to buy them? You going to pick up a cassette deck? Or do you think there's no way? Manufacturers aren't going to make cassette decks anymore. There's obviously still a lot to learn about these premium cassettes. Is it going to need a specialized player? Are you going to be able to play them on older cassette decks? It's exciting though. Let me know in the comments, what's your favorite format? Do you think any of them were worth the trade? There's no right or wrong here. It's just audio. It's just good, clean fun. That's all it needs to be. If you like this video, you should definitely watch that one. It's fun. Promise.